Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, hear from the lawyer representing a former Attorney General's office employee who says that Attorney General Tom Horne broke campaign laws. And we'll learn about a new survey on the political habits of young voters. Those stories next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Eight, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simon. State Senator Steve Gallardo is out of the race to succeed Congressman Ed Pastor. Gallardo announced today that he will instead run for the Board of Supervisors seat, soon to be vacated by Mary Rose Wilcox, who plans to leave the board soon for her bid to run for Pastor's office. Today's announcement leaves Wilcox and former State Representative Ruben Gallego as the main challengers for that open congressional seat. A former aide to State Attorney General Tom Horne says that she and other staffers did campaign work for Horne's re-election bid while on state time. Attorney Tom Ryan is here to discuss allegations made by his client, Sarah Beatty, and we should note that Attorney General Tom Horne will appear on our show Thursday. You are here now. Good to see you again. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me back.
What exactly does your client claim?
She claims that Tom Horne had taken the Arizona Attorney General's office and turned it into his personal campaign to be reelected as Attorney General. He's using staff time, computers, desks, email accounts, all on personal time, all on state official time. That's a violation of state law and it's a violation of federal law.
Talk about the state law, political activity by public workers, and the state law regarding campaign work on state time.
Absolutely. There's the Federal Hatch Act and the Arizona's Mini Hatch Act, and what it says is elected officials may not use their particular office to get themselves reelected or to go out and campaign for somebody else because it gives them an unfair advantage. Also, they're using taxpayer money. Mr. Brnovich and Ms. Rodolini, who are also running for the office, they don't get taxpayer money. So for those reasons, we have a law in the state of Arizona that prevents people like Tom Horne from campaigning on the taxpayer dime.
Attorney General Horne says that his workers are expected to work 8-hour days, but they can volunteer for the campaign if they so choose. That is their First Amendment right.
Sure, but that's not what's happening here. The documents that we provided to the Secretary of State and Clean Elections Commission clearly show that a substantial amount of this campaign work was being done during regular working hours. You can see, for example, email chains going back and forth between all the staffers that start like at 9 in the morning and don't end till 4:30 in the afternoon on one particular item. Another one that we provided to the Secretary of State was a flyer that Brett Meekum worked on over a 2-day period and spent 1,223 minutes. Now, Mr. Horne can claim that was all coffee breaks, but that would be roughly 81 and a half coffee breaks in a 2-day period of time. It's just not credible, the defense that he's trying to mount here.
And he basically does say that people can work on campaign stuff throughout the day. They got lunch breaks, they got time when they're not supposedly on the clock, they can maybe make it up. And how do you prove that these folks were on the clock?
Well, that's a good question. And what we provided to the Secretary of State and the Clean Elections were the emails and the Word documents that they were working on. And if you go to the properties section, when you put it into your computer, you can look at who the author was, you can look at the number of times they've edited them, and you can look at when they've edited them, and you can look at the time they spent on them. So when you start putting that all together, you start to get a big picture of that this was an entire campaign being run out of the Attorney General's office.
And so when the Attorney General says that basically that the campaign hasn't really started, your clients claim, I think you used the word vacuous, because nothing has even begun yet, you say?
I say you go back and look at the exhibit that we provided, because there's a calendar that he had everybody sit down and review in August of 2013, and it had the campaign for the next 6 months. When you look at it, all the campaign items were in blue, and probably 80% of the stuff on Tom Horne's campaign, or on that calendar, was all related to his political campaign. So he can say whatever he wants to say. He can call it vacuous, inane, banal, whatever word he wants to choose, but it's belied by the actual documentary evidence that we've provided the authorities.
And basically he's also saying there isn't that much to do right now as far as his re-election campaign is concerned.
Well, if he's not doing anything, he's going to have his head handed to him very quickly in the primary, so that's not likely. The plain fact of the matter is he's been out, as you'll see in the evidence that's attached to Sarah's affidavit, There was substantial efforts to do fundraising, to meet donors. Also, there's been a process. By the way, they have to collect somewhere between 5,000 and 15,000 signatures statewide. Tell me why that's not campaigning, and these are the things that are being discussed in the documents that we provided to the Secretary of State.
Another claim by your client is that Tom Horn solicited money on state time and that there was a binder that was mislabeled Border Patrol. What's
Correct.
that all about?
All right. No, there was he kept a deliberately mislabeled book behind him on his shelf entitled Border Patrol. When I opened that book up, there was nothing to do with Border Patrol. It was a list of all his donors, broken out into who gave more than $500, who were the attorneys that donated to him, what companies did they come from, and it had his personal handwritten notes in there, and he would actually make calls. Now, it was on his cell phone, but it was at his desk in his office where the taxpayers have paid for him to do that.
So again, if he uses his own cell phone and he has said that maybe a binder does exist, but he did not use it on state time, how do you prove he used it on state time?
That's where Sarah comes in. Sarah will say, I was in his office and he did that. Also, Sarah will tell you that when Tom would go out and campaign and talk to donors, because she was quote unquote the official fundraiser for this campaign, he would give her official state phone number at her desk for the donors to call her. And so we put all these things together. Yeah, you're not going to just find it in one piece of evidence. You start putting them all together, and then you're going to get the big picture. You got to ask Mr. Horn some tough questions here. Let's start with a basic one. Mr. Horn, where's your headquarters? Where's your campaign headquarters? Where do you keep all your petitions? Where do you put all your campaign material? Everybody else, if you go to Mr. Brnovich's office and Ms. Rodolini's office, you can see a beehive of activity going on. Where is his beehive of activity going on?
Your client now, how long did she work for Tom Horn, and when did she first notice improprieties?
She worked from August 1 to April 22nd, the day of her resignation. And literally from the get-go, she noticed improprieties. For example, Kathleen Wynn was sending out this achievement list that she wanted Sarah to work on.
Who is Kathleen Wynn?
Kathleen Wynn is the Director of Community Outreach for Tom Horn's office.
Okay.
And I'm going to take just a break for a second here to tell you something. There isn't an attorney that's actually practicing in Tom's office, in the executive office. They are all political operatives. Margaret Dugan, Kathleen Wynn, Brett Meekum, Garrett Archer, who just resigned earlier this week, and Sarah Beatty, my client. They're all political operatives. We're the lawyers that would help guide Tom away from these kind of mistakes.
As far as your client is concerned, though, if she noticed immediately, why did she not leave sooner? She had a couple of pay raises involved there along the way as well.
Exactly. Well, at first she thought that she would be able to do these things after hours, but she realized she was being continually pushed to do them during regular hours. What you will see when you look at Sarah's pay records is that she started taking unpaid time off to do the work on Tom's campaign. And so, but Tom continually pushed her to do campaign work in the office. She will tell you that she cannot think of one official bit of business that she and Tom ever talked about. It was always about where are we on the campaign fundraising.
And the Attorney General, I asked a question because the Attorney General's office is calling your client bitter that she had to work 8-hour days, and they infer that she was caught, or at least they allege that she was lying about her timesheets, that she had a problem as far as hours worked.
The two things. If you read the affidavit that we submitted on behalf of Sarah, Sarah starts off, I know they're going to smear me. I know they're going to make it difficult for me to ever work in this field again, but I have an obligation to step forward and tell the truth. And she did, knowing full well that would be the attack. Tom Horn and his campaign have committed to an attack and distract theory here with Sarah and with me. I don't care. I came from nine Irish Catholic brothers, bring it. But for Sarah, you know, she's been a real profile in courage, and she's taken a lot of dirty, filthy shots from this campaign, not so veiled threats and so forth. She's a real profile in courage. They can call her whatever they want to call her and say whatever they want to say. I will tell you this, she's the truth teller in this whole process.
She could be the truth teller in the whole process, but from the Attorney General's side, what they're saying is that they bent over backwards to try to accommodate her many requests. They bring up the fact that she had problems, or allegedly had problems, with the McCain campaign back in 2010, and they're trying to say that when it comes to unpaid overtime and hours worked, she has a history. Is that not something to consider?
No, that's, first off, that's an it's a misstatement of the case. Sarah, when she does fundraising for legitimate campaigns, is paid a base salary approximate to the one that she was paid towards the end of her work there. Plus, she's entitled to a bonus of the money that she raised. At the end of the McCain campaign, there was some discussion about what the bonus ought to be, and it was resolved. There were no lawsuits, there were no threats. But that's something Tom Horne wants to put out there. That's the attack and distract strategy.
And as far as you're concerned, you're working this case pro bono.
Yes.
Why?
Because, I see myself in this state, and as you know, I've been involved in more than just this. I was involved in the Russell Pierce and the Olivia Cortez matter. The Darren Mitchell, I sleep in on a mattress guy. Carlisle Begay, who lives in Gilbert but actually claims to live in Ganado. I see myself as kind of the political bulldozer here, and my job is to push the political garbage out of our state offices. I don't want money. I'm not looking for money. I'm not looking for fame. And by the way, Sarah gets nothing out of this. She's not suing. She's not asking for damages. And so this whole concept that, Sarah always does this, it's belied by what's exactly happening in this case. She just wants to bring it to the forefront that this guy, Tom Horne, is seriously violating state and federal campaign laws.
And again, that brings up the question of what your client really wants to come of this. I mean, why? She's putting herself at risk. If she is the victim of a smear campaign, that's not an easy thing to go through. Why?
Right. No, part of it is, and she told Tom multiple times, Tom, you understand you may well be being watched right now by either a county attorney's office or the FBI or the Department of Justice. You've had these ongoing problems. Wake up and smell the Sanka. I am not willing to go at risk for you, if they are still looking at you.
And what did he say?
He laughed it off, and that's what you're going to find. He didn't think it was any big deal, and I think Tom Horne believes his spin. He's a spin it and win it kind of guy. I mean, he's got a lifetime ban from the SEC, but he will still spin it and win it. I was just a young guy. There were some bookkeeping errors. He's got a lifetime ban because of fraud. I mean, you can't keep spinning and winning it for the rest of your life here.
So when the Attorney General says that notices that you're working pro bono, I believe he called you a known political hack who regularly attacks the Republican Party. How do you respond?
I think he meant to say political hunk, but I'm not sure about that. No, actually, it's important because I've represented Tom Liddy, who's a well-known Republican, the Maricopa County Republican Party. I've represented Bob Robson. I've represented Sandra Dowling on a small matter. I've represented Russ Jones from down in Yuma County. Most of the work that I've done has actually been on behalf of Republicans. And by the way, I also went after a Democrat, Senator Carlisle Begay, showing that he signed affidavits that he didn't live in Ganado and he lived in Gilbert. So he can say whatever he wants. The plain fact of the matter is it's belied by my actual work in this field.
All right, so are you associated in any way with the Brnovich campaign?
Nope, I have not talked to Mr. Brnovich, never met him. Have not donated to him, and the same would be true with Felicia Rodolini. Never donated to her, have not met her. I mean, I've met her in the past, like at a state bar function, but I'm not associated with either camp.
And before we let you go now, you've submitted another letter today regarding what you want to see as far as records preserved from the Attorney General's office. Talk about what you've asked for today and why you asked for it.
Actually, it's a little different. It's a letter given directly to Tom Horne as an individual and as the chair of his campaign. And what it is now is his attorney has said, I'm not handling the response to the Secretary of State and the clean elections. So if he's going to write his own response, he cannot, because this is a political matter, he cannot be using state time, state staff, state resources to do the response. Including, if he has to talk to one of his staff members like Kathleen Wynn or Margaret Dugan, he can't be calling them on their state time. He has to be talking to them after hours. And so my letter to him was to let him know I'm going to be looking at this very tightly because I fully suspect and expect that he will still violate that.
I was going to say, it almost sounds as if you are attempting to shut down a lot of what's going on, allegedly going on, in the office.
Yes. He has an obligation to campaign outside the office. It's your taxpayer money, it's my taxpayer money, it's my children's taxpayer money. Yes, somebody's got to step up and put a stop to this.
As far as these claims are concerned, what's next? What's the time frame?
Well, the Secretary of State has given him until June 2nd to file a response. So he's got a lot to do between now and then, and he cannot be using state resources in the meantime.
All right. Well, Tom, it's good to have you here. We will have Attorney General Horne on the show Thursday, but I'm glad you were here to explain what your client is claiming, and we will see where we go from it. Good to see you again.
Thank you. Good to see you again, too.
A survey of young voters at ASU shows that although a majority of students are registered to vote, many are not politically active and don't keep up with political news. Joining us now is ASU Public Policy Professor David Wells, and also here to discuss the poll is ASU journalism graduate Richard Flores. Good to have you both here. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Who was surveyed and why?
Well, I teach this media and politics class actually about every other year, the spring of election years. And one of our goals that we learn about media and politics is we want to figure out how could we have an impact, what would be a useful thing we could do. And the class came up with a brilliant idea of trying to survey downtown ASU students to get a sense of their political involvement so we could connect it to national surveys and get at some kind of comparison.
I noticed that one of the things that stood out is how much time spent consuming news. 30% of males, a half hour at least, and only 10% of females with news consumption to that level?
Yeah, we noticed a gender difference, and the good news, and I think Richard can talk more about it, but is that journalism students consume more news than non-journalism
Well, they better.
students.
I mean, goodness gracious, it's like a construction guy not concentrating on his work. But did the numbers overall, did they surprise you?
I mean, not really. I mean, I found that, we found that it was 80% of people spent less than 30 minutes watching the news. And I think it's pretty close to much what I thought, which is the fact that, younger people, they just don't have the time a lot of times to watch the news. So what they'll do, we found this as well, is that, it was about 65% of people got their news from online. And I think that's where everything is going, is online. As a journalism student, I very well know that.
And I was going to ask you, is that a good question as far as watching news or getting news by traditional methods as opposed to being informed in some other way? Are these kids still informed, just not in the traditional ways?
I mean, I don't think they are, because a lot of the issues are a lot complicated. We asked about immigration reform, we asked about gun control, but they weren't as interested in that as something as easy as like a gay marriage, which causes very strong reactions from a lot of people. And we found that, I think it was close to 45-50% of people felt very strongly in terms of them wanting them to get out and vote because of that.
Yeah, did the numbers surprise you at all?
Not a lot, not tremendously. A lot of it matches up with national campaigns. And I mean, a key thing is that independent voters are the most common thing we're seeing here. And one of the things that really matches up strongly with other data is that independent voters are less likely to vote. We asked them whether they voted in 2012, which is a presidential election. And what was really interesting, the students who aligned with either Republican or Democratic politics were about 3-to-1 more likely to vote as not to vote. But the independents were just like 55-45.
Are these independents, are they truly independents, or are they Republicans and Democrats who just don't know it yet?
They're leaning Democratic, at least based on, if you look at how they answer other questions. The independents, they liked Obama. Republicans didn't like Obama, Democrats did. The independents, not as much as Democrats, but the independents liked Obama. The independents did not like the Republican Party, about 2-to-1. They were slightly unfavorable toward the Democrats, but pretty close. And they didn't like Governor Brewer or the state legislature. So they didn't seem to have any very positive attitudes toward what Republicans did. So they were more in line with where Democrats were, but they're not as connected to politics.
Is that the big grand middle here, these independents who, again, may be on one side of the fence pretty strongly, but they just aren't aware of it yet?
Yeah, I mean, we talked to several people. We talked to Steve Veramontes, we talked to D.B. Mitchell, who were part of campaigns, and they pretty much said the same thing, that people are becoming more independent who are younger voters, and those people, we found that there was about 80 million people are millennials, which is more than the baby boomers, and that's why they're so important going forward, is as they continue to get older, maybe they'll find themselves trying to figure out which party they're going to go to, and that's so key.
And if you are a party trying to attract these particular voters, what do? How do you get their attention? How do you hold it? How do you win them?
I mean, like, the biggest thing to me is I was looking at that we didn't ask about this, and I wish we would have, which is college affordability. As someone who just graduated, I can tell you, it's expensive to go to school, and this is something we're not hearing from either the Democrats or the Republicans, is how they're going to get college affordability down. I think if they can focus on that more, I think maybe that will get more younger people excited to vote because it affects their pocketbook.
How do parties react to this kind of information? I mean, you got a grand prize out there hanging around the middle. How do you get them on your side?
Yeah, I mean, it's complex, but I think issues are a key part of it. And I said there were only 2 issues that we didn't ask about lots and lots of issues, but things like gun control didn't poll very well. But comprehensive immigration reform actually polled strongly for Republicans, Democrats, and independents as something that was a high priority for them. And same-sex marriage also polled highly for Democrats and independents, didn't poll that well for Republicans. So I mean, if you're talking to their issues, which is what you typically want with any campaign, that's something that's going to get them more excited. That's probably one of the reasons why, like, same-sex marriage, if the Supreme Court doesn't intervene, might be on the ballot in 2016, because it'll be a strategy by Democrats to get these folks out.
So you have what seems to be the largest undecided political population in memory, if not history. Could there be a third party developed from this?
Not likely. It's really hard for third parties to win. You just think about Ross Perot, and he got 20% of the vote, and he got 0 electoral votes. It's really hard, and nothing really came of that, politically. And right now, the Republicans are doing everything in their power to make the Tea Party go away. And so it's really hard to get a third party off and running.
Your fellow students ever talk about a third party? I mean, or ever say pox on both houses, anything along those lines?
I mean, not really, no. I mean, I think it's pretty strongly Republican, Democrat. You look at people like Rand Paul and Ron Paul, and they tried to get the Tea Party started, but they just didn't get enough traction in the general election. But it's one of those things that a third party, I just don't see it happening with younger voters, unless they tend to go more libertarian as well. I think people are so disaffected by government. I think, if anything, libertarians might make the move.
Might make a move, but how much of a move?
I just don't see it eclipsing Republicans and Democrats because they have more money and more support behind them.
So as opposed to things that are directly affecting this population, the price of college and those sorts of things, if I'm a political operative and I'm seeing this great huge mass in the middle, we can't seem to get their attention, what would you suggest? How would you get their attention?
Go to social media. I mean, that's where, like I said, that's where they get their news from, but a lot of people are on it. You're looking at, a population where I think a Harvard study found that 87% of people are on either Facebook or Twitter. And I think that's interesting. I think that's where they got to go. They got to start putting their message out online and making it quicker and easier to digest.
But I can be the fuddiest of the duddiest of politicians and have my own Twitter and Facebook and, even MySpace if I want to get back to the distant past here. I can do all that stuff, but is that really going to convince you that I'm thinking of you?
I think it can, but they just have to learn how to do it right. And I think that's the challenge that they're facing is we did some research on this in class and trying to figure how politicians use Twitter and Facebook and stuff like that. And what I saw was that they just weren't doing it quite right. They were, weren't talking about the issues as much as they were, oh, hey, look, here's a picture of me and my family, that type of stuff.
Yeah, Richard mentions class. What about the teaching of civics, the education of kids, to get them more involved, to get them paying attention more and more engaged?
Yeah, I think in a lot of classes it's really important for students to be involved. I mean, the legislature passed a bill a few years ago that required that the Constitution be put by the American flag in the classrooms. But those are very passive things. The idea is to actually get students involved to know that they actually can make a change or an impact on things. And when they do that, then they can sort of catch the bug and really realize it is. But unfortunately, we live in a time when the parties are at loggerheads. They just don't seem to want to get anything done, and it's really disenfranchising to them to experience that all the time.
But you as an educator, how do you give them that bug?
Oh, well, I do whatever I can. In my larger poli-sci class, we did Riley versus California and Sebelius versus Hobby Lobby as actual cases that the students argued and read about. And then they'll be, when the court makes their final decision in a couple or month or so, I'll tell them how it came out and they can see whether they agree.
All right, Richard, final word on this. What do we as a society take from these numbers?
I think it's the fact that, like I said before, millennials are the next generation of people. They're going to be the ones controlling this country in 20 years, people like myself, and that's why it's so important to get them out to vote and get them excited about politics.
All right. Well, good to have you both here. Thanks
right.
for the numbers.
Thank you,
Thanks for the information.
Thank you.
Tomorrow on Arizona Horizon, we'll meet a local high school student who won a top award at an international science fair in the category of electrical and mechanical engineering. That's tomorrow at 5:30 and 10 right here on the next Arizona Horizon. That is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.